Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. Going to be doing an Inidem stat stick for Khora, or Khora Prime. We're going to go through the steps of making one, because there's a couple of different builds, but they all share some core values. Pulled up the wiki. Whip Claw has an 25% crit chance, a 2x crit multiplier, and a 20% status chance. So that's going to be the main thing we're going to be playing with. Damage is affected by ability strength and melee combo counter, and certain melee mods, mainly the Acolyte set, the conditionals. And the wiki literally lists everything that triggers on it, because so much of this has been nerfed. It's actually easier to just show. The big thing about Khora's Whip Claw that allows it to do so much damage is that this is a pseudo exalted. So it multiplicatively scales with base damage, like pressure point on the weapon that you're using as a stat stick, and power strength. And not only that, Khora has a accumulating whip claw augment that jacks it way up. So there's a lot going on, and I'm gonna show the couple of core builds, but the important thing to keep in mind is crit and crit damage is going to play a huge part, and more importantly, faction mods don't count. So we're not going to be using any of that. And the other thing is this line right here. Toxin, heat, or electricity damage mods do not scale the damage of toxin, heat, or electricity procs caused by Whip Claw. And we're going to click on the tooltip. Guess we got to hover, it's not letting me click. Modded damage. The base physical damage of Whip Claw, including mod bonuses, base damage, crit, but excluding elemental damage mods from mods. So on Khora, all of the elements scale like slash damage. This is going to be important for the other builds. But we're going to do the slash build first. So pulled up the slash page. Pretty basic. Base damage of the weapon. And where you find that here is literally on the other page. Because this is a stat stick. That's where you would normally find it. Is 435. Okay, so that's one of our numbers. Base damage. And the modded base damage is 1 plus base damage bonuses. So that's going to be your pressure points, your regular pressure point, prime pressure point, regular pressure point, and sacrificial pressure. Plus faction damage bonuses. Faction damage doesn't apply to Khora's Whip Claw, so we're going to ignore that. So it's literally base damage and base damage bonuses. Accumulating Whip Claw applies here. Then the slash proc per tick is a ratio times modded base damage, which is up here. And faction damage, we don't care about that because it's the Whip Claw. And additional multipliers, and it lists what the additional multipliers are. Include critical multiplier on critical hit and multipliers to enemy body parts. These stack multiplicatively with each other. So what it's talking about is the critical multiplier to the hit is your yellow crits, your orange crits, your red crits, times whatever your crit multiplier is. And there is a formula for it, but it doesn't really show. But the Khora Whip Claw shares the same crit multiplier as this, so we'll be able to actually see what we're getting. So let's go over what it said. It said base damage. It said crit. And we're going to throw 2 on. Because Khora's Whip Claw is about killing hordes of enemies with your, and utilizing your crit multiplier. If you do not have Blood Rush, True Steel is also an option. You will just do less damage. But this is an option also. That being said, I highly, highly, highly recommend Blood Rush. You can farm this on Deimos bounties. It's on a rotation, so don't be worried if you don't see it. It's on a rotation. You might see Weeping Wounds because that's on the other rotation. I think it's the 3rd bounty. It's not the endless one, but it's on the 3rd one. So still pretty easy. You can pick it up. With this build, the first one is going to be the slash build, so we will be killing with a status proc. Get rid of that. Because this is going to be a combo counter build, we're going to take Weeping Wounds. This will stack with our combo multiplier, or our combo counter, sorry. Same with Blood Rush. It will stack with our combo counter. And the combo multiplier will increase the status chance, so eventually we will be getting 440 status bonus status chance percent on 20. And there is a graph for that as well. Let me just find it. I have the Blood Rush one. Okay, so the base status chance is 20%. So this is what our combo increase is going to be, percent-wise. And it's going to be the effective crit chance increase. So at 20% base status chance, status chance increase, we will gain 108 for a total of 128. That's not bad. So that's the increase. That's what we're going for. Ideally, all we really want is enough that it guarantees a slash proc every time we hit. That's the gold standard. If you're under that, you're not going to deal anywhere near as much damage. Obviously, if it's like 96% or something like that, where it's really close. But when you start getting into like the 80s, it's a little low. So we have our core multipliers: damage, crit damage, crit chance, status chance. Now the top row increases the slash procs. The bottom row gives us more slash procs. So the next thing we need to worry about, and we'll drag this over here like that, is it's going to be an issue of we're running out of mods we can apply. So we're going to pick what we can. So the first thing we need to do is, because the weighting is even on impact, puncture, slash on the Whip Claw. And don't feel bad. You wouldn't have been told this. You have to check it on the wiki. Somebody went through and tested this and figured out that the weighting was even by literally just recording the interaction and figuring out what the math was on it. So don't feel bad if you don't know this. It's literally not explained. So we're going to try to weight slash. And we're going to use a buzzkill mod. Is the correct answer. But that being said, if you don't have this, don't buy this. I have a ton of Carnus Mandibles. These drop a ton on Deimos. Carnus Mandible works also. Okay. It's not as good as Buzzkill because it doesn't get the slash weighting up as high. But if you're making the decision between the two, and you don't have Buzzkill, Carnus Mandible is a really good option. So pick that. And then we're going to go with literally, because our options are so limited, let's go with more crit chance. This should get us to almost reds. And we can get another tier. So the last two mods, these two, are flex slots. Okay. If you get a Riven with a ton of crit chance on it and crit damage, it's going to go where Gladiator Rush is. The increase that you're looking for is you're looking for crit damage always, crit chance, and even melee damage would count with like a harmless negative would be good. But as long as you get crit chance, crit damage on it, I'd say you're basically done with rolling it. So this is food for thought. It also increases your combo counter. Another thing that could also be used, and it's if you don't have, say, like Blood Rush, then you're going to rely more on proccing the statuses. What do we got? We got Drifting Contact. Put Karnas back on. Is you could do this also. And this would bump you up more in terms of the number of status procs you get. But Buzzkill is the correct answer. But if you're having trouble getting like a Riven for whatever weapon you're using, this combination would be decently effective. Buzzkill Gladiator is gonna do some work. Where did Gladiator go? There we go. So this is going to get us slightly into over oranges and slightly under reds, if I did my math right. So let's see how it performs, and this is a slash build. We're going to group, we're going to charge up our accumulating Whip Claw. Alright, we need to charge up some more. I'm only seeing 300Ks, hold on. Alright, so we're stacked. Yep, 12x. Alright, let's test some damage. It's gonna one-shot him with a slash. So even though Condition Overload does not apply, because we are dealing slash damage, Viral still does boost the slash damage and the initial hit. Alright, 300Ks, 395. Alright, the damage is better. So even though it's a Whip Claw build, yeah, it's not going to be 100% slash. Alright, I saw 743. Which is good enough for a level cap. And it's without a Riven. 743k. So this would be your slash build. Definitely level cap worthy. If you don't care about the extra crit because you feel like the damage is enough. And I would say this was definitely be in that category. You could also do like a drifting contact to bring the status chance up, and that way you'll have the chance to double proc. Because those big numbers that you were seeing, where it was like the 300k, the 360k, the 380k, whatnot, was raw damage. Like that was unboosted. But then, like, say the 700k, right? When Weeping Wounds stacks up to, what is it, 20? There's a slight chance of double procking. So what those big numbers were was 2 slash procs getting stacked on top of each other. So instead of showing 2 380k slash procs, it was showing 1 760. You know what I mean? So that's what was going on. I wasn't actually hitting for a single slash tick of 700k. It was 2 300k slash ticks, which we saw everywhere. So that's what was going on with that. This would help you boost getting those double procs, but you would lose access to reds. So it's a flavor thing. If you like one more than the other, obviously this is more crit damage across the board, but this gives you some RNG to get a double proc, so you will actually see higher slash with this, but your overall damage is going to go down because this actually boosts the crit chance. But when this procs correctly, you will see a bigger number, if you understand what I'm saying. But it's going to be because it's more procs on one, because it will increase the amount of procs that you get. So you could double proc a slash, and you'll get a big number that way. But Gladiator Rush will help out with the combo, so does Drifting Contact, and this will increase your slash procs. So this is by default going to be your slash build. And it's purely because you don't have anything else you could put on here. That being said, if you get a Riven, it goes right here. If you get a Riven that has slash on it, so like CCCD plus slash minus impact or something like that, right? Something that doesn't hurt you. You could also potentially take off Buzzkill, but that would be like a added bonus, like a +3 -1 Riven. You could put it here, especially if it has a minus, like puncture or impact on it. But ideally, you're looking for crit chance, crit damage. And if you have crit chance, crit damage, plus slash with like a minus impact, this can go away, this can go away. Or you can keep this and do like 2 sacrificial mods. And like a spoiled strike. Spoiled strike would be good. But it's not what it used to be. What is it, 7 capacity? Yeah, something like that. This would also do good damage if you don't have Gladiator Rush. So there's some flexibility. You need to throw a combo mod on. So just to reiterate, you have body count, you have drifting contact, and you have Gladiator Rush. You need to pick whichever one you have. The chances that you're going to have drifting contact, use that. Gladiator Rush is not worth buying over drifting contact. But at the same time, if you have Gladiator Rush, use it over drifting contact. And body count's an older mod, but use Gladiator Rush for your duration over drifting contact. Only if you have it, but if you have drifting contacts, Gladiator Rush isn't worth buying. Just pick it up slowly. It's a Cetus. It's a Cetus mod. So just get it when you can. Rivens, crit chance, crit damage, melee, maybe minus impact or puncture on it would be a god roll. as long as it's not some really nasty negative combo duration, like something heinous, like -6 or something, there really isn't too much that you can do to hurt the stat stick. Like, even if it's minus Grineer faction, it doesn't count. So you could have like a really weird looking Riven and have it actually end up being pretty good. It just needs to be crit chance, crit damage, base damage works, plus slash damage is also a positive, especially if it's paired with like minus impact or minus puncture. I would say minus impact, preferably. But there's a bunch you can mod for. If you're not having issues with combo duration, like you have a dexterity mod, like I have on here, you can skip the combo duration altogether. So it's up to you. I like the gladiator mod. It does nice damage, gives you nice crit. It's nice and consistent. There's nothing special about this build. And it still does damage. Like, this weapon will level cap. Like, this stat stick for Khora will level cap, no problem. Let's talk about other builds. Elemental. There's a lot less to consider. We'll rely on... the dexterity mod for now. Let's do a corrosive. The biggest difference is Weeping Wounds goes away. If you want to slot it, you can. But even less matters. Because we're not really worried about applying... You can leave it on there, it becomes personal choice if you like the ability to smack stuff. This will allow you to get those big juicy numbers. Hold on, we're still climbing. We're at a 0.5 mil though. Alright, 200k unprimed. Let's prime it. See what sort of juiciness we can get. Looks good. Alright, seeing 150 raw. It took too long. I don't have the extra combo mod on. Alright, 674k was what I saw. There might have been a bigger number in there, but I saw that one off to the left. Alright, so corrosive. It's raw damage. Kind of speaks for itself. If you want to throw more corrosive on, like maybe, I guess you could do, was that 1014? Okay, so you could do this. Yeah, you get another 10% out of it. And you get a little bit of status chance as much as that matters. With corrosive, it's more about the armor bypass. If you're feeling adventurous, you could slot Weeping Wounds back in and just do like a Voltaic Strike, Prime Fever Strike. That's a potent combo. Just for the little extra status chance. And put Weeping Wounds back in, so you are, should you come across something that needs a couple of hits, like an enemy with alloy, you will be getting corrosive procs. But the weighting on this weapon is going to be so heavily corrosive, you're going to see it occasionally just because of the way RNG works. But you're mostly going to be hitting corrosive, because this is a massive weighting of corrosive compared to everything else on the weapon. So, food for thought. It'll do damage, but this would be a corrosive build. I actually kind of like these, and one of the things you can do is I've been priming with viral, right? And this is part of the reason why you don't need Weeping Wounds. Is if you're running a primer, you absolutely do not need Alright, 160. You absolutely do not need to run corrosive on your main weapon. You want as much damage as possible on that sucker. Alright, 300k, and I'm only at a 6x. $334. Headshot for 722. 290 was a body shot. Uh, 154 body shot, 580 headshot. Alright, 521. So not bad. The damage is substantial. Though technically this will fall off late game. And by late game, I mean like several hours into a survival. The slash build will just do better because it bypasses armor. Alright, let's move on to the next one. And it is surprisingly similar. Except we go back to Weeping, and this is for Corpus. Because the thing with Corpus is that the bypass of shields does not get boosted by the element, the toxin bypass. This is as impressive as this is. This is actually not going to increase our toxin dots. I mean, we can test it. Hold on, we can test it. Our raw damage should go up. Alright, so 150 with 10 stacks of viral on it. Let's weight it even more. Easy. Yeah, about 100. Yeah, the whip claw's accumulating, Lamo. I'll see myself out. So it's about the same. It's not as big of a jump as it should have been. Adding another 100%. Let's see, what is it? Toxin. So adding about 100%. Let's see, 60%. 165 would be 100 plus 160. Okay, so it's 160 with the 60 mod. Then we do. Then we do 265 minus 160. Sorry. 265 minus 160, not 260. Divided by. Yeah, so it should be doing about 60% more damage. Which is not what we were seeing. But the good thing about it is that it does hella good on the weighting. But again, crit chance puts in work here. So we have weeping, crit chance, and then we have a flex slot. But this time, because we need the status proc so much, again, you could go Gladiator Rush. But in this circumstance, I would probably recommend drifting. Just to help out more, because Toxin's got a slightly lower scaling than Slash. You really need the double ups. Alright, about 5,300. Seeing 6Ks. And that would be the dot build. Now, of course, because we did the corrosive build. And the drifting contact thing, I prefer it for Toxin. But there is no reason why you couldn't go Gladiator Rush here. Just, it's going to cost you a Forma. Where this is a 2 Forma build, Gladiator Rush is going to cost you 4 more capacity. So you're going to have to Forma. And that's 90% of the reason why I don't want to use Gladiator Rush. But should this be your go-to stat stick, it might be worthwhile to just drop another V in. Because you're almost always going to use these 5 as Vs. Like, even on the actual melee build, where you actually use this for melee, it's still 5 Vs. So you could definitely make sure that these are 5 Vs. The weapon already has V polarities on it. Like, I only have 2 Forma in this, and I have 4 polarized slots. So it'd definitely be a cheap weapon to upgrade. But this is a 2 Forma build. If you want to drop another V in, you can make it Gladiator Rush also. And I would say do the V instead of doing a dash, so you have flexibility. But that's my thought on that. Now, Considering we did the corrosive build for Grenier. Here we go. And I need 1 capacity. There we go. Good enough. Not going to do as much damage because there's no 165 mod that applies to magnetic. And we will do Corpus. Let's kill enemies. And pick a sucker. This guy looks like a nerd. Now this will do hella damage to the shields. As you saw, it was hitting for 200k. If you don't one-shot them, your damage will actually go down. But if you can get in the habit of like headshotting them, like just aiming over them, the headshot bypasses the shield gate on the enemies, so you won't lose the bonus on magnetic. Because if you notice, when you hit something and you actually are hitting with magnetic, you'll do hella damage when the shield is there. But as soon as the shield's gone, it feels like your damage goes down. If you headshot them, which is pretty easy to do with Khora, you headshot them, hit them in the weak spot, it bypasses the shield gate and allows you to carry your bonus damage into the health. So it's a little bit of a technique to do that. But you'll have to get a feel for it, playing around in the simulacrum. The position that I like aiming for is literally on my computer monitor. It's about an inch above where they are. So we'll chain them again. And I'll aim like right here. Yeah. And it's a feel. Just play around with it and you'll know you hit the headshots. Because it's more positioned about the whip claw crack, the whip effect, away from you or close to you. You have to get a feel for that. Once you center the whip claw over the person, it becomes way easier to hit the whip claw hit. It's super easy at that point. But judging the distance is going to be the issue, because you're going to have to know how far the whip claw is from you. Because in things like fissures, there are strength and range buffs. And it can cause your whip claw to go a little out of control. More importantly, it will cause it to go twice as far. But the AoE at the end is capped, so that won't get bigger. But the whip claw will start traveling like a mile away. Well, not really, but like it's going to be going like twice the distance. So you have to be able to adjust, figure out where stuff is. What did I forget? Oh, the gas build, widely considered a meme. And the way gas works is, it's kind of a joke, but the fact is gas synergizes ultra well with Khora, because all gas cares about is base damage, status chance, and faction damage. And we can't do status chance, so we just get to completely double down on gas. Adding primed fever strike does not help you here. You have to get the status chance up, because as long as you trigger the gas status proc, the percent bonus on this, the plus 60% heat, the plus 60% toxin, have no input on the damage that you do besides on the dot. Have no input on the dot outside of the base damage increase. So I'll show you the difference just to show you what I'm talking about. Eventually you want to kill with dots. But if you're running around Steel Path... Oh, let me get infested. If you're running around Steel Path, that's a very late game thing. Like thousands of levels. So let's do Infested. That guy's weak to Corrosive, Fossilized. Ooh, something stronger than that. Okay, here we go. Ooh, that's a boiler. Something not complete crap, please. Alright. See, so 3,000. But when you group them all together, looks what happens. Okay, they exploded. Because of the dot, the good thing about it... One of the Undying Flyers came back to life. Wow. It's like he's undying. So how you'll do this with Khora is you'll group, slap, and proc. And it's easy enough, right? This is... The innate gas build is going to be fine. With just a ton of status chance. And reason being is that you want as many procs as possible. As many double procs. So you can increase the AoE of gas. Because unlike a lot of other things where, say, like slash damage, or not slash damage, say heat, toxin, electricity, where they take into account literally how big the number is, gas does not. So it's actually easier to favor gas by increasing the AoE. So when you group enemies with your 2, if you're using Khora, and you hit them with your Whip Claw, those AoEs will overlap in a circle. I forget exactly what it is. I remember hearing it. Somebody's finally been talking about it. I think they were saying it was like quadratic scaling. But basically the way this works is, say you grab 2 enemies together, and then you hit both of them with the gas proc. The gas proc will overlap between each of them for 4 times the damage. Reason being is you have a gas proc dealing damage on one, and it has the AoE associated with it. And you have the gas proc dealing damage on the other one. And then all of a sudden they will start doing gas damage to each other with 1 proc. So when you hit them, you throw 1 whip, it multiplies the damage. Otherwise, it would just be 1 gas proc on 1 enemy. Now you have the same gas proc on 2 enemies, and then they're gas procking each other. And then you have the additional scaling with the ensnare, right? So if you do that and you ensnare like 10 enemies, that requires a bigger gas radius, which means more gas procs. But you also need to get to, its caps at 10. It's going to be a long time before you need that many gas procs and that many whips to be able to get that. But this will speed that up incredibly, because one of the good things about it is, with gas is, and this works great against unarmored enemies like the Infested, is the gas procs hang around after the enemy's dead, and it's instantaneous damage. So if an enemy dies, and I can show you this is pretty easy. Right, so we'll group. Gas proc. So it's 5,000 damage in an AoE. Okay. Okay, you see that little cloud that exists there? That's the actual gas proc that we triggered on the enemy hanging around. So as other enemies run into it, they will then be getting dealt gas damage. And the cool thing about gas damage that does allow it to eventually deal damage to even armored targets is that gas procs, the clouds, have a height associated with them. Where say like, and this is the same for electricity, where say toxin and heat is just sort of pseudo applied, where it's just considered like a general characteristic. Gas and electricity have a height associated with them. So if you get a headshot gas proc, it will double its damage because of the headshot weakness. And then the AoE, when it hits an adjacent enemy, will then get multiplied by their headshot. So, food for thought, if you're doing infested, go for gas procs, go for headshots, and you will notice your damage is significantly higher, especially with an ensnare build. So this is the three builds, or the builds against the three different factions. I don't think I can really mention any more about this. Talking about the evolutions, it's full stat stick. Evolution 1, don't even use it, but this is just to gain access to the Incarnon form. I did sprint speed just for some utility. Other than that, there wasn't really any other reason. This is the first one where it specifically has a reason for it. Gain 5 combo for every 10 meters of continuous slide. Somebody in the other comment section, I guess I didn't cover the mods, and this is in response to somebody asking about it, and my apologies for that. Because I didn't cover the mods, but I covered the evolution. So let me cover the evolutions here also, just in case this is the first video somebody saw. The reason why this is the best stat stick weapon in the game right now is because the evolutions apply also when considering the stat stick. So for this, gain 5 combo for every 10 meters of continuous slide. This will allow you to maintain your combo duration infinitely. So if you have like a big Khora cage, you can slide if there's no enemies around. You can run back and forth in the Khora cage, sliding to maintain your combo counter. And it'll reset the timer on it. So say you are running like a rush or like a drifting contact, right? And you have a big combo duration, you can just every once in a while just slide until it resets, and you got like another 20-30 seconds, right? Evolution Swooping Lunge. This one is a little bit tricky to trigger, but you can make it happen. This applies especially if you're running a Sentinel. And we'll try to show this. Right? Oh, I need to be able to kill these guys. Hold on. Infested. Crawler. These will explode. See if I can trigger. It is very difficult to trigger. Because a lot of times it counts as a ground attack. But yeah, like if you have like a Sentinel, instead of like a Panzer or something, you're just starting out, but you happen to form a Core Prime. The Sentinel counts as airborne. And it triggers the crap out of that evolution. And the bonus damage actually increases the damage on your Whip Claw, because the 150 melee damage counts as a mod. So instead of having prime pressure point give you 165. You can, if you can keep it triggered, and a lot of times it will trigger casually off of stuff. Like especially the pet, right? If it does that little jump maneuver, and their slash damage kills it before the pet lands down on the ground, that counts. Okay, that counts. So 315 would be your melee damage at that point. Obviously, it falls off, but you can keep it up if you want. And the final one, which is super good for utility, with the epitaph. As you're firing the epitaph, because it's basically a big ammo pool, it doesn't have magazines. As you're firing, you're constantly picking up ammo, and it will give you combo counter. Right? Fire a couple times, pick it up. 10 combo counter, fire some more. At 15. Now I'm at 20 and I'm at 2x and I haven't hit anything. So that's the philosophy behind the set. That's why this is so effective, because even if you don't like the gain 5 combo for every 10 meters of continuous slide, you gotta admit this is easy as hell to trigger. And it's giving you combo counter as you're running around. There's no reason not to take at least the Evolution 5 Armed Inspiration, because it's just so easy to keep up your combo counter when you're doing it. That being said, I think this counts as a decent explanation. The Khora Prime build, if they fix this entire thing, will change if they fix the mods not triggering on Khora. If Khora gains access to the Archon mods, there's a reason I didn't make a video on her, and it was literally saying none of them apply. If any of these apply, like say for example, like you can use Condition Overload, and Venari healing you will trigger the Restoring Health with Abilities passive on Intensify, I will completely redo the build and just deal with not having permanent shield gate. I like it because it's a super safe build, but I'd also rather have Equilibrium on here and say like a Dispensary on 3. You know what I mean? But the frame has to work on its own, but that was like a sweaty build. But the big benefit of this is that for the Enidem is you can keep up your combo counter super easy, especially if you're running around priming stuff with your secondary. You're just running around. It's a way faster play style because you're just running through, hit priming stuff, and then you whip, run through prime stuff, whip, pick up ammo, run through prime stuff, whip. It's a very fast and fluid play style. So I don't think I can really explain this anymore. That's how you would mod it for each of the factions. Pretty basic. All of these are complete user choices. If you don't like this one and you want to use the other one, that's up to you. But this one is significantly more effective at keeping your combo up than Evolution 3, especially if you're running around the map. That being said, the other ones didn't really apply as far as stat sticks. And it's just nice to be able to keep your combo up without having to do anything. Really, like you just slide 10 meters and it resets your combo counter. So if you're running around the Zeraman or you're doing Kuva survivals and you're trying to get to the next Kuva siphon, you can slide a little bit and you can keep up your combo duration, especially if your team already went through and blew up all the enemies. That sucks, especially with the new Khora. How long it takes to get your combo up. I mean, it's not super long like it used to be. But it's still significantly faster to do it this way and just, not lose your combo in the first place. But anyway, I hope this helps, my dude. Was asking about, shout out to Christian, was it Hague? I hope this answers your question, dude. Have a blessed day. Y'all have a good day. Stay excellent.